welcome to the very first of a series in our podcast for Aspirations and Dreams. Hi, my name is Barry Hamilton, and over the next 12 weeks, we'll be looking at talking to some of Perth's most interesting people who, through their adversity, have managed to fulfil their ambitions and dreams. The reason for the podcast is to look at ways in which we can provide you, the listener, value, tips, hints on happiness by talking to these people on our podcast. Each week on the podcast, for a bit of light entertainment, we're going to ask our guests a list of firsts, 20 questions in 60 seconds. And we'll start off with me today so you can get to learn a little bit more about me. Scotty, are you good to go?
All right, we're good to go. We're going to put 60 seconds on the clock, starting from now. What was your first car?
A Datsun 120Y.
Who was the first person you cared more about their well-being than your own?
My mum.
What was your first bike?
Gold Malvern Star bike.
When was the first punch you ever threw?
At my brother.
Have you ever quit a job, and what was the first job you quit?
I quit my first job stuffing chickens at Red Rooster.
When was the first regrettable hairstyle?
Today.
What was your first business venture?
First business venture was a cafe.
When was the first time you got stitches? Probably after you threw your first punch.
Stitches, I fell off a horse and cracked my cheek.
When was the first time you flew in an aeroplane?
When I was about 14.
How old were you when you first left home?
23.
What was the first class that you skipped?
If Mum's watching, I never skipped any classes.
There we go. 60 seconds is up. Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Scotty. A little bit about my story. Like most of us, my story starts as a young child who had an unhealthy obsession to just please my father. As a result of that, I worked very hard. I took up boxing, which I was terrible at. I was playing lawn bowls at 16, which I was actually better at than boxing, but very uncool at that age in those days to be playing lawn bowls. And the reason I did all this was to make my father proud and to gain his love. And that's not having a criticism of him at all. It kind of speaks more about my self than him. But that led me through a journey of setting goals very early in life and achieving them. And over time, what happened is I set a goal to be a regional manager at 40, and I achieved that at the age of 26, which is fantastic. And for a short time, there was that pride in being able to achieve those goals. But very soon, the fulfillment turns into, a vacuum. I've achieved that. What am I going to do now? And so very soon after that, there's a vacuum, and I had to set more goals. And in achieving those, I'd be happy for a little while, then there'd be a vacuum, and then there'd be discontent. And for me, it was all about dollars and the title of my job. So I used to say, all right, well, when I get to $50,000, I'll be satisfied. I'll be happy then. Then it was 70, then 100, then 150, 180, and so it went on. And so the reality is, I was never going to be satisfied because all I was doing was setting money and job title as my success benchmark. I worked very hard for a very long period of time, which eventually took its toll in terms of my physical health, my mental health, until such time that I had a mental breakdown and resulting in me losing my job. The problem with that is that my identity as a person was tied into my job. I saw myself as my job. And so when I lost that, I lost my identity. And that led to a full breakdown, resulting in me being hospitalised. So anxiety, depression became a part of my life. On good days, I wished I just didn't wake up. And on the worst day, sitting in a car contemplating driving under a truck. Thank goodness I didn't take that step, but it led me from rock bottom to start rebuilding my life and saying, well, what is actually important? What are the things in life that are important? My identity was so wrapped up in the fact that I had now didn't have a job and therefore had no purpose in life. So that's the genesis of this podcast, is to try and get people in Perth that have had their journey, such as I have, and who have made it through, who have achieved their aspirations and dream and are putting love into the world, are putting kindness back into the world, which I'm learning every single day is my purpose. So we will be having these podcast guests invited along, and they'll give you tips, hints, their life stories, and share with you the capacity to learn and grow along with us as we proceed along with the podcast. Really hoping that you will join us as we progress further. If there's anything at all you'd like for us to discuss on the podcast, drop us an email and we'll certainly do our best. Thanks for joining us, and all the very best. And remember, happy people make people happy. Bye for now.